Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Sturdivant, coming to you today from just outside of San Antonio, Texas. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're coming to us from around the globe. Welcome to AxCon, and I hope you all have been enjoying your time. We're going to be talking about strategy for finding a C-suite sponsor for digital accessibility, different strategies to help you with that. So let's get going. So just a little bit about myself. I've been in IT now for over 37 years. I am a screen reader user. Translation, Patrick's totally blind, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. I worked for a financial services company for over 34 years in IT. The last 10 years of that stint, I was doing nothing but digital accessibility. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today were those experiences during that tenure. I've been with DQ now, this September, it'll be 3 years, helping a variety of large and smaller organizations shift their culture through strategic consulting. So that's a little bit about me. So I am a big proponent of promoting disabled, empowering the disabled, employing the disabled, making sure that people who are disabled are fully included in the digital lifestyle. And I know all about digital, working in IT. I love computers, love what they can do. Yes, I do get frustrated sometimes when I have accessibility issues, but I would not give up my technology because it's what makes me independent and allows me to do all the great things I love to do. So let's go ahead and move forward. Just a brief pause here to just say DQ, we're here for digital equality. And I would love to work with any of you all who want to further the conversation or become a more formal customer of DQ when it comes to strategy. That's what I do, is help large organizations. So let's look now at what we're going to cover today. We're going to look at the problem, why working this problem will solve the issue and hopefully provide the benefit you're looking for. We'll talk about the different strategies. We got 5 to cover. That's not to say that these are the only 5, but these are 5 that I wanted to bring up and show you. I'll be happy to take questions at the end and discuss other ideas. Love new ideas. So the problem, you're either working in an existing accessibility program or you want to establish one at your organization and it's not moving at the pace you would like. You have a program and it's not moving quick enough. You want a program and you can't get people engaged and interested in establishing one. People aren't reacting. Your message is not getting out there. The people who can make the decisions aren't getting to hear your message. And there's an overall lack of communication and understanding. That's the problem, because if most times that's the biggest problem. Once people understand what we're trying to do, understand how it benefits people, and understand the value to your organization, they get it and they want to do it. Everyone moves at a different pace though, so you have to be patient. But that's what we're trying to solve for, is get people talking. So on this slide here, I want to talk a little bit about who it helps. So when you think about digital accessibility, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? We're here to make technology accessible for people who have disabilities. That is a very true statement. I'm not going to deny it. I'm a perfect example of it. I am a screen reader user, and digital accessibility helps me. But what I tell all my clients and people that I meet, digital accessibility, in my opinion, this is Patrick's opinion. Last time I checked, I was allowed to have some opinions. Don't try to have too many. In my opinion, digital accessibility helps everyone. And here's what I mean. It helps everyone because today you may not need it, it may not be important, but tomorrow it may be. And that tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, or maybe a few years from now, it may help you, it may help a friend, it may help your family member. Digital accessibility is needed by everyone. We all take advantage of it in different ways at different points in our life. But would you really want to say, I'll never need digital accessibility, or I'll never have a family member or a friend who needs digital accessibility? I don't care about it. If you're smart, you would never say that because you need it. When we work on digital accessibility, it's good for everyone. If you look at the 1.3 billion people around the globe that have some form of a disability, and you include in their family and friends, basically, from what I've been told through research, is half the globe has some interest in good digital accessibility. So everyone needs it. So moving forward, here's some more of the benefits. It's going to increase your market presence. It's going to reduce the risk of any type of litigation. People are going to be more loyal to your brand or organization because you are inclusive of the disabled. Digital accessibility promotes quality content and quality coding practices. And if you're in IT, do you really want to be known as someone who doesn't want to do digital accessibility? In other words, you don't want to produce high quality content that everyone can use. I would hope not. So let's take a look at some strategies you can use to get the attention you need to get the people to hear the message and hopefully someone to raise their hand and want to work with you in solving this problem. The first thing we're going to look at are how DEI and employee resource groups can help you. Then we're going to swing a little bit different direction and look at town halls and large gatherings of people at your organization and how that can be a great tool to get the message out. Your leadership chain is also another great avenue you cannot forget about for getting the message to people up the chain. Your internal network of peers, coworkers, stakeholders, all those folks that you surround yourself with are very important in your journey because they're going to help carry that message. The formal stakeholders who hopefully are caring about accessibility may be in the same boat as you, can't get that message out. You're going to have to work with them. They're going to be able to help you in different ways. So those are the 5 strategies. Let's dive in. So real quick, because Patrick is a more senior type person, I did forget something to tell you guys, and I really meant to, and it was on my list. Sorry, guys. I am a middle-aged, leaning a little bit younger, male with dark brown hair, hazel eyes, no facial hair. I am wearing a cool black Axcon shirt, and I'm coming to you from my office at home. So wanted to describe that for those people who are blind like myself. Right now, we've got a slide up here with people, and it's an image bringing us into the slide for the DEI and ERGs. So just a description. I'm going to move on forward. Okay, let's start with DEI. Why is DEI so important? Most organizations have some form of diversity, equality, inclusion, and some have accessibility on that acronym mostly in their HR space. That's not to say that DEI can't live somewhere else, but everything I've seen, it's always living in HR. DEI is your friend because HR cares a lot about the DEI programs, interactions, and what's going on in the company. The other reason why you care about DEI is that link to HR. Disability has a lot of interactions with HR sometimes for accommodations, for understanding, for policy. hopefully your DEI program has an employee resource group, a business resource group, a diversity business group, whatever you want to call it, for disabled. And if you don't, then one of the things I would say is, have you thought about raising your hand and asking if you could start one? The reason why you need to get more familiar with your HR structure and HR in general is because most likely you have a high ranking person in charge of HR that either sits on your C-suite or has direct connections to C-suite into the CEO. Translation, here's your first strategy. If you can get the attention of your diversity DEI group, get a conversation going with your head of HR. They can help carry that message to the CEO. Conversations can start to happen, and hopefully you can get your message where you want it at the C-suite level, asking for assistance, sponsorship, at least a conversation. Let me just back up a little bit. My goal here, well, the goal, it says to get you a sponsor, that is part of the goal. But really, my ultimate goal is to get you into the CEO's office at least once a year for a 30-minute conversation about disability inclusion, digital accessibility, and anything disabled related that you want to message and bring to that CEO so that they have awareness. That's a tall order. I've done it. It can happen. It took me about 4 years. We'll talk more about that when we talk about leadership, that leadership chain, but it can happen. And one of the ways to do that, and the first way I started doing it was using the DEI VP, going through channels through the chief people officer at my former organization and going through them to get messaging to the CEO. So interacting with HR is really important. Your diversity business group, your employee resource groups are really important. If your organization has contracts with the federal government, they're going to be encouraged to have employee resource groups. If you're at a large organization, you also need to talk to HR about self-identification. Are they going to be running a self-ID campaign? Most of them run them every 5 years. Not all organizations do it, but a lot of them do. It's voluntary. It lets you self-ID for many aspects of diversity, but one important one is disability. Let's talk a little bit more about employee resource groups. So a disclaimer, in all honesty, you need to know, I did start we call them diversity business group at my former employer. I lived and breathed ERGs for about 4 years. I learned a whole lot doing it. I learned a lot about process, people, leadership change, networking, relationship building, organization, you name it, volunteering. I learned about it through a DBG, an ERG. If you have an ERG at your organization, you should be volunteering to help. One of the key things that helped me a lot with getting where I'm at and getting my message out to leadership was through volunteering. And when you work on an ERG, a lot of the work you do is volunteer work, unfortunately. My old boss used to always say, yeah, Patrick, I need you to work on your day job, not your other job, because the running joke was Patrick had 2 jobs, establishing and running the employee resource group, and then my day job of digital accessibility or focus on testing. Just so that you have an awareness, I used to work for an organization, a financial services company of about 35,000 people. So it was a large organization to work with. My goal was to shift the culture and make sure that everyone, all 35,000 people, knew something about disability inclusion and digital accessibility. It didn't matter what your role was. ERGs are important if you have one for disability. If you don't have one for disability, like I said, you should think about establishing one. If you've got one, use it to your advantage. Become a part of it, help them, show leadership in the organization, work hand in hand uh, for the efforts that they're working on. And guys, I'm being totally honest here. Every so often, I'm having to shut up my screen reader because it's giving me Zoom messages. So sometimes I pause for a second just because a big Zoom message popped in and I had to clear it out. And also sometimes it gets my focus off track because I'm listening to Zoom messages. But anyway, we digress. The diversity business groups for disabled, I mean, you've got a group of people that are already like-minded. They're already promoting disability. They're there to help you network, help promote what you're trying to do. One of the things that I did want to talk about real quick is many times when I was working on the ERG aspect of my job, I would talk to people about, are you a member of our employee research group? And I would get the answer, no, I'm not. I'd say, why? I'm not disabled. Well, you don't need to be disabled to join us. Do you care about people who are disabled to promote their full engagement? Oh, of course I do. I have a brother who has a disability. Well, then why don't you join us and show your support? So it's very important to make sure that people understand showing your support. You don't have to have a disability. The other thing I want to bring up is if you are a member of a disability employee resource group, you need to be networking with all the other groups. You need to be networking with the group for women. You need to be networking with the group for African Americans. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why, Patrick, do I need to network with the group for African Americans? I'm here to promote disability, and I only have so much time and resources. Well, here's the reason. Last time I checked, people who are African American, or people who are women, or people who met, or LGBT, they all had disabilities. We all have to work together. Your job is to get the message out as broadly as you can. So don't just stick to the disability employee resource group. Broaden your horizon, reach out, go to their meetings, invite them to come to your meetings, join each other's groups, understand each other's problems, and work together. Another good thing about an employee research group is in most large organizations, they have some form of a budget. It may not be a great budget, but any budget is better than no budget. So sometimes you can leverage that. You can leverage events that they're holding to get your message out. You can work together. We talked about partnership. Those are kind of the highlights on disability employee resource groups. So moving forward. So now we're going to talk a little bit about town halls. And we got a picture here of someone giving a presentation. We'll go forward. So to me, a town hall is a large gathering of people. You can have a town hall that is your entire organization. It could be on all hands. People have different names for them. It could be a town hall for your VP of IT. It could be a smaller gathering of front-end developers. It could be a gathering of all the designers, but it's a fairly larger meeting where they're communicating what's going on either at the enterprise level or at the VP's level, whatever the level is. They're there to communicate status, promote what's going on, allow people to network and basically understand what the organization is doing to move to that next level. Why do you care about town halls? Well, it's a gathering of people. And basically, for you to achieve your goal, your job is to get the message out. You're the marketer. These town halls normally have the leader give a presentation, but many times they bring in guest speakers. And guess what? You need to be raising your hand. Even if it's just to say, can I have 5 minutes at your town hall Mr. or Mrs. VP of whatever department, to give a brief update on what we're doing for digital accessibility, or to give a brief update on what we're doing for disability inclusion. You may start with 5 minutes. You may, depending on the audience, get half an hour or the entire presentation. I bet you anything, if you have a group of designers meeting monthly, if you ask them to present at one of their monthly meetings, they would give you a lot of time to talk and get your message out. Town halls are a great way because you're getting to a wide variety of people, a big audience. If you can start small, work your way up, and get yourself to the town hall for the enterprise, you're going to get noticed by C-suite people. Your job is to be noticed by C-suite. So we're going to move forward. So we got a picture here. We're going to be talking about leadership. We have a picture of two ladies sitting at a table having a conversation. So, we've been talking about working with ERGs and working with HR. We've been talking about town halls and networking with groups of people. Let's not forget about keeping your leadership chain informed as to what you're doing, how it benefits them and the organization you work for. Keep your boss up to date on what's going on. Ask to present to his boss, their boss, her boss. Keep going up the chain. You have to be tactful in how you do it, though. You don't want to step on any toes. You want to be able to get that message as high as you can. And you need to be ready to deliver that message when and wherever you can. Sometimes that may be a formal meeting with, let's say, your VP. Sometimes it may be a walk down the hall when you see the VP and you're walking in the same direction and they ask, so what are you working on? And you need to tell them what you're working on that's most important. So if you have those interactions with VPs or the CEO in the hall, as a side conversation in another meeting, make sure your leadership chain is aware that you're having these conversations. Now, granted, it will make them nervous. My boss was always scared to death when I would say, I'm going to go have a conversation or I'm going to go walk down the hall, because they knew when I was going to go walk down the hall, there was always that chance I might bump into the CEO or VP or someone from C-suite, and I would strike up a conversation and tell them about what I'm doing and what my objectives were and what some of the obstacles were. And any good leader is going to want to try at least to help. And so that was always the running thing with my leadership was, who's Patrick going to talk to today? What am I going to be given as an assignment from upper management because Patrick had a conversation? Just looking here at some of the things on the slide, guys, in case you're wondering what I'm doing. So when you do want to engage leadership, know channels, know how to properly ask for time, know your leader's support team, be very respectful of their admins because they're the ones that are going to help you get in the door to that executive to have a conversation to keep moving the message up. So one of the things I used to always tell people is, do not be known as the person who always, when you show up at their desk, you're asking for something. I quickly learned that was not a good thing because you get a reputation. Oh, Patrick's coming. He's going to want something. And as soon as I learned that that was what was happening, I immediately worked to fix that. I would intentionally engage or interact or go by with support teams, the admins, the executive assistants, and I would come by sometimes and do nothing but ask how their kids were doing, ask how their day was. This may be a 1-minute conversation. It may turn into a 10-minute conversation, but it built that rapport, that relationship with some key leaders, support staff. so that when I did need something and I came up, they were engaged and wanted to help me because they knew I truly cared about my mission and I truly cared about them because it would take time to get to know them. It would take time to check on them. And yes, sometimes I would ask them, can I get on so and so's calendar for 30 minutes? So that's some thoughts on leadership. We're going to move forward. So for those of you who can't see, this is a really great photo. I'm impressed that my coworker was able to find it. This is a photo of a bunch of people looking at their boots. We're going to be talking about boots on the ground, networking, how to leverage all those people and interactions that you come in contact with at your organization. So internal networking. I mean, this touches on so many things that I've already talked about. Support teams for executives, employee resource groups, friends, colleagues, people that you know in the organization, even people that you know outside the organization. Because one of the things to get known, to get noticed, to get your message out, sometimes you might want to think about volunteering in your community. And how could that help you get your message to your CEO? Well, if you volunteer in your community and your organization values that, you may get recognized. You may volunteer at an event where some other senior leaders at your organization are also volunteering at. You just never know when and where you're going to get an opportunity to talk to someone who may know someone or be at a level in your organization that can help you with your mission. So don't just focus exclusively internally. Your network can be external too. Trying to think, I'm looking real quick. So when you're building your network, you're going to be wanting to bring like-minded people along with you. And it's always great to have a story to tell. Most of the time, it's going to be your story. But also, if you've got a great network, you're going to have other stories and leverage those stories and bring those people along with you and get their stories out there. And while you're telling your story, tell their story. Because the stronger the case you can make for why digital inclusion, digital accessibility is important, the better you're going to be off. And you can tell one story, you can tell how this is going to help Patrick, and that may go so far. But it'll go a whole lot farther if you tell them this is going to help people who are blind. And this is going to help people who have dyslexia and people who are colorblind. And this is how it's going to have many stories and have many examples of many people that you know in your network where you can promote others and get that story to continue on. Another good thing about having a really broad network is you bring a lot of resources. You bring in people with different backgrounds that can help you in different ways, whether it's putting on an event for an employee resource group, doing an awareness session for your organization, getting the attention of leaders and working with them. Having people of all backgrounds is a really great resource. Because remember, you're wearing that big marketing hat. You're there to promote, get the word out, get that message pushed as much as you can up to the C level of your organization. So we're going to move to the next slide. We have another image of some people sitting around the table. We're going to be talking about stakeholders because they are also a very important part of getting that message up the chain, because you want to take all avenues that you have to yourself to get that message up there. So when we're talking about stakeholders, you're probably first thing you're thinking, oh, okay, IT people. Yes, developers, testers, designers, they all have a stake in digital accessibility. But besides them, we need to remember we have HR at the table. Compliance is a very important part of digital accessibility. If needed, we can help with messaging to compliance and ask if they can help get that message elevated, escalated. looking for people at the higher levels that are interested in promoting, sponsoring, getting our message up. Um, Change management, very important. They're also very good communicators. In large organizations, change is critical. And good change management is good internal marketing, and those folks can really help. They may not be able to get your message all the way to the CEO, but they're an important stakeholder in good digital accessibility. I didn't want to leave them out. The business, we can talk IT all day long and compliance, but at the end of the day, one of your main jobs too is to make the business understand how important digital accessibility is to their bottom line, because they're there to promote their products and services. And they need to know that the market includes people with disabilities. You need to get them excited because they can also help carry your message up through that non-digital change, the business chain up through the organization. It's another avenue to hopefully get your message to C-suite from all different angles, from all different areas of the company. And I guarantee this, if you get a lot of people bringing that message, helping you bring it up the chain, C-suite will start to notice. You will get noticed. Okay, got a great slide here, a bunch of tools. We're going to talk about some of the tools you're going to need to be successful at communicating your message and igniting change. So I've talked a little bit about what you should do and being prepared at any time. You're walking in the hallway, you're you're in a call waiting to start. You may have a conversation with some of the early participants, and you may get a minute to get a message into a senior leader. Have an elevator pitch. Have if you were to walk down the hall or have an opportunity to get your message to your CEO, and they would ask you what's important in your life, your work life, what's going on, be ready to pump out a one-liner. I'm working really, really hard to promote digital accessibility so that all of our customers have an opportunity to fully engage and use our great products and services, and that our customer base increases. Whatever that message is, have it ready, have it memorized, and be able to produce it. Sometimes, depending on your organization and whether you're in the office or not, it's sometimes great to have a flyer. You walk by an executive's office and they're not in, you could just toss a flyer on their desk that talks about maybe your next event or some resources that are available, or just a status on a project talking about the great change and improvement of digital accessibility. So sometimes flyers are important. They can also be digital. You can forward them as an email. If you have the money for swag and you're in an environment where you're actually coming into the office, swag is a great thing. Believe it or not, C-suite people like T-shirts also. I have experience at that. So if you've got a budget, or if your employee resource group has a budget and you have the ability to get swag and get that into the hands of the right people, that goes a long way. Your smile, keeping a positive attitude. You're going to go a whole lot farther getting your message there if you always have a positive attitude. You always have something good to say, the positive. It's also okay to challenge and to talk about roadblocks. It's also okay to talk about some of the issues that you're facing, that you're working on. And one of the other things that I really want to push and make sure you understand is executives love to help. So be prepared for them to say something like, what can I do to help you remove that roadblock? And be ready with a solution that they could help with. Because don't just bring them problems, bring them the concern and bring them potential options for solving that problem. And the problem may just be, if you're talking to an SVP, I'm trying to get my message of what we're doing to the CEO. Is there any way you could get this flyer or this short document in front of them to look at so that they understand some of our challenges. That is a very reasonable ask, and it's something they could easily do, and they would feel good about helping you with that. So I think we've covered that. We're going to move forward.
Patrick, taking advantage of this pause, just a time check. We have about 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. We're now going to talk about using your sponsor. So you've done all this great work. You've got a sponsor, may not be the CEO, but you've got someone in executive leadership who can carry messages for you and hopefully at some point help you understand the process to get into the CEO's office or the C-suite to talk about the challenges. You've got that sponsor, you need to use them, and you need to know how to use them. So they're there mostly to answer questions and open doors and bring you resources. And mostly opening doors. Hey, I'm having some struggles with procurement. They don't understand what we're trying to do. Do you know anyone in procurement who would be willing to sit down with me to listen to our story for 30 minutes? That sponsor is going to be the best one to open a door, send an email. Hey, John Doe, Mary Smith, I'm working with this really great person. They're working on digital accessibility. They'd like to have a conversation with you. We have some issues. They have some solutions. Will you listen to them? And can they get 30 minutes on your calendar? Most of the time, that executive coming from another executive is going to say, sure, talk to so-and-so who can get them on my calendar. Love to hear their story. They're a wonderful brainstorming expert. You go there, talk about all the issues and concerns, and many times they're going to like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that aspect of it? They're just going to give you different perspectives. They see things at a different level in the organization. They know things that are happening at a higher level that may impact what you're doing. They're great at helping you solve problems. Communication and awareness. One of the biggest things that they can do is send emails, because they can send an email down through their entire organization. Getting your message is really hard when you're not in a high leadership position, because you only have so much resources as far as communication down and around you. But when you have, let's say, an SVP or even a C-suite person who could send an email to all of your IT department about what's going on with digital accessibility, that just takes so much work off your back, because that messaging and getting people aware is so much of the work, especially at early stages. We kind of talked about roadblock, having a sponsor. They're really great at giving you ideas on how to break roadblocks, or just go ahead and take the roadblock away. If your roadblock is you need $10,000 to do an awareness session and you don't know where you're going to get the money, and you go to your sponsor and say, look, I'm want to do this. It's going to cost $10,000. I don't know how to get the money or where to get the money. They'll either give you ideas, or they may just fund it out of their own budget. Because a lot of times what we think is a lot of money to them is nothing. Budget. Sometimes they will give you a budget. If you have a really, really great sponsor, they may say, look, here, every year I can afford to give you this much money out of my budget to promote this, because I really believe in what you're doing, and I will give you a piece of my pie. So there's a lot of ways you can use your sponsor. Most of it is messaging up and down, getting that message broadly across to their organization, helping you traverse across the enterprise, get your message up to that C-suite level, hopefully providing a little budget. Roadblocks, helping you figure out how to get through those. All those things, a sponsor is what's really what they're there for. Moving. Conclusion. I'm going to take 1 minute. We're going to go through this real quick, Roger. Get noticed. If you're not comfortable getting noticed, I'm not going to say you can't do this, but it's going to be a little harder. You've got to be able to put yourself out there, and it's going to be a balancing act. But you have to get noticed. You have to be willing to speak up, speak out, be respectful. You got to be able to get around and talk to lots of people and be comfortable reaching out to strangers. You've got to know your organizational structure. You need to know who's your CEO, that whole C-suite. You should be able to, by memory, you should know, hey, our CFO is this person, our chief human resource is that person, our CEO is this, the chief of staff. You need to know all those people. And you need to have them memorized. You need to know how to traverse your organization and find, if I say, find me a testing architect, you should be able to go find that person. I already touched on this. Don't always ask for help. Sometimes come by and just see how people are doing. Keep building that relationship. And when you truly do need them, then you can ask for help. Relationship building. This is all about relationship building, building that network and building and never giving up. With that, I hope I've given you some things to think about. I hope it's generated some questions because I'm excited to take questions, which brings us to Q&A and back to Roger.
Patrick, you did an awesome, awesome job. Thank you so much. The attendees are going insane. They loved your content. They want to learn more. So you're right. I do have some questions for you.
Okay,
We'll
great.
start with the most popular one, which is I've heard that workload makes it really difficult for employees to participate in ERGs. Any recommendations for how to encourage managers to give their employees time to volunteer or attend?
Find a way that your volunteering on that ERG will help you do your job. Also, show your ability to go the extra mile. And if that event is going to take 4 hours of one afternoon, tell your boss you're going to do this event and you're going to also work an extra hour 3 or 4 days to make up the time.
Mm.
And you may have to do that the first time or two. And then after a while, your boss is not even going to ask because they're going to trust that you know how to manage your workload and that ERG work. So it's a balancing act, but show you're willing to give a little extra of yourself.
Got it. I think that that's some powerful insight. And I like your point about how now you're setting a standard for the fact that I can do both of these things at the same time. They're both important. Okay. And Patrick, I apologize. I should have started with this question first because everyone wants to be on the same page here and they were looking for some definitions. Pretty
Okay.
quickly, what does DEI and ERG stand for? And is there also a BRG?
There's lots of definitions. There's diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
So DEI. An employee resource group is usually just a bunch of people organized uh, at an enterprise like a major company, focusing on one pillar of diversity. It could be disability. It could be LGBT concerns. It could be inclusion of women. So those are all examples of ERG or employee resource groups, also known as business resource groups, BRGs, DBGs, a diversity. Every organization has a different acronym. All comes back to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Got it. Seems like acronym city out here. The good
Yes,
thing is,
yes, yes,
folks are in the
yes.
chat helping each other define things, but I wanted to have a standard set, so I appreciate that. Next question would be, how do I build up the tough skin for politics? For example, you mentioned taking advantage for the town hall, and that sounds a little bit scary.
It can be scary because many town halls, the CEO will be up there and at the end they'll ask for questions. And you have to just be a little brave and raise your hand and be polite and be respectful and know when to drop the topic. So if you ask your CEO in a town hall, do you have any words or comments on how the corporation is doing regarding digital accessibility? If they give you an answer that you don't really like or you think they're stepping around it,
Mhm.
let it go. You didn't get the answer you wanted, but guess what? You got a large audience to hear your question.
Yeah.
And even though the CEO may not be addressing it, people are thinking, what's this about digital accessibility? So no matter what you win, you get your message out. Yes, you don't always get the answer that you want. Know when to step away. You don't want to make a high level leader unhappy or upset. Sometimes it takes time, slowly, to get that message across. Remember, I said it took me 4 years to get in the CEO's office.
Yeah.
I had to tread very carefully and lightly and know when to step away. So you have to know when to step away, but you have to be brave and you have to put yourself out there and ask those sometimes tough questions.
I like your point about how, we need to set proper expectations with how we go into that engagement and what we'll get out of it at the end. And it
Mhm.
seems like at the end of the day, you should be satisfied with having planted a seed here, started
Right,
this conversation.
right.
Got it. Okay. Much appreciated. Of course, everyone's working from home. So folks are saying, how do you start a conversation with a C-suite person when you work from home?
Well, that can be difficult, and I will admit that most of this experiences were when I was in the office. You're going to have to look towards Teams or Slack channels that are of a broad nature, where you could plant some questions that maybe C-suite are looking at. You may, hopefully, you still have events. Maybe you're not in the office all the time. You're in the office 1 day a week. You can take advantage of. If you're never in the office, you're going to have to use more digital strategies. Uh, you may need to put on an online virtual awareness seminar to
Mm.
talk about just basic disability etiquette. And what you could do, if you're brave, find out the email address of your CEO's admin and just say, hey, we're doing this to promote inclusion of people who are disabled.
Yeah.
Just thought maybe the CEO might like to know. And the end of story.
Yeah.
Don't say, can you ask them to come? Can you ask them to speak? Can they do this? Don't. Just provide that little nugget of knowledge and leave it at that
Yeah.
and see what happens. So there are different ways. You'll have to attack it in different ways. But you can get those nuggets. It's all about knowing your organization. You cannot push that enough. You need to know who your leaders are. You need to know who are their support staff. And
Yeah.
you need to network and hopefully find common interests and get to know people. And through those interactions, build your network where you can ask for help.
I think that that's an excellent idea. And Rose, that's the person that asked this question. I'll also say that some companies, I'll speak for DQ, we have a virtual town hall that we hold regularly. Patrick, if I remember correctly, it's once a month. So that's
Yes.
another opportunity for you to speak on this topic, plant a seed, entertain a large audience, and advance the conversation. So you're right.
Right.
It's still possible even in a virtual world.
Yeah, I will admit it will be a little harder, but don't
Yeah.
give up. No
Yeah.
one said this was an easy job. This is tough work.
Yeah.
Being disabled is tough, and working on disability issues is tough work. It's
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart.
Well, Patrick, we have about 30 seconds left. So I think to close it out in a forward-looking direction, what happens after this session? How can folks take advantage of thought leaders like yourself to help guide their programs?
Start talking to people. Start working on the courage to ask the question. And remember, when you ask a question or have an ask, have a solution ready to go. And don't be afraid to talk to your leadership. Many, many, many times they want to hear. Just remember, they take your concern and present it in a positive way. Don't bash your organization. Don't bash leaders either up or down the chain. Positive, 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 because you represent the disabled. And we have to keep a positive mindset. That's how we make progress.
Yes, that is an awesome response. Everyone, thank you so much for joining this session hosted by Patrick Sturdivant.